Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining this session. We're going to look at the Sandbox overview. This is part one of a three-part series called Introduction to the Sandbox. I'm your host, Guy Alcombi, a partner success consultant here at Dext North America. Let's look at the learning objectives for today. So we're going to look at the story of the Sandbox, or why the Sandbox, the Sandbox data structure, and look live into the Sandbox for this video. So why did we create the Sandbox? Well, in many accounting solutions, there's a need to constantly filter, customize, and download reports into Excel and constantly change them for all the clients in the firm. Now, there are many problems with extracting data from the GL into spreadsheets that can occur, such as manual reporting, which can cause spreadsheet errors, and applying reports to multiple clients and finding errors in the redoing if there's any mistakes, which can result to time lost. And we figured there must be a better way, a way that the data would automatically update in real time so that there will be no need to constantly manually build reports for every individual client. And that's why we created the Sandbox Index Precision as a solution to this problem. So what actually is the Sandbox? Well, the Sandbox is the underlying journal of every transactions in the ledger, making up the debits and credits of the transaction, updating in real time. It has the ability to slice and dice the data to analyze easier. Therefore, you'll be able to build a report once and for all that constantly updates and shows across all the clients in precision and can be shared with team members as well. Now, let's look at the structures in the Sandbox. So firstly, part one, this is the account types. So the account types gives you account information that lets you filter by general ledger information. So there's three levels here. Level one is the account class, which contains assets, liabilities, revenue, and expense and equities. They're great for filtering. And then there's level two, and it's more so for detail, the more detailed type. So if it's an asset, is it going to be bank? Is it going to be current liability? And so on. And this is also great for filtering out data. And then we have level three, which is the account codes. So if the account has a code, if the account has a name, it's going to list the name as well. And then it's going to give a reporting category as well. So this is the part number one, the first part in the structure for the Sandbox. The second part of the structure of the Sandbox is dates. So there are a lot of date fields that helps you filter depending on what you want to see. So please know that the dates are really useful, especially in pivot mode, which we'll take a look at. So there are columns. In the columns, there's the date, period, week, month, quarter, year, financial year, and date it was created on. All this data in terms of dates will be available to filter through in the Sandbox. And then part three, we have the source. So there's more data about each of the transactions that can help you understand the different use cases. So we have identifier, which is the reference number. We have categories, such as it could be an invoice, a bill, an expense, and so on. Then we have the type, similar to category, but in more details. And we have the status, whether it's been paid or invoices or ready to be paid, and so on, depending on the accounting solution that you're using. The language may vary, but the information is here nonetheless in precision. We have the lock date, so whether the transaction falls in a locked period. And then finally, we're going to see the link, which is going to take us directly to the transaction in the accounting solution. And part 4 are other parts such as tracking categories, the type of, which means the type of tracking category to the first one, and then tracking category number 2 as well. We also have contact, which is the name, so a supplier or customer of a transaction. We also have a description line if it has a description, and then the number, the journal number, if it has, well, it should have a number assigned. Every transaction has a number logged assigned to it. So those are the 4 parts of the structure of the sandbox. Now let's take a look at these parts live in Precision. So here now I'm in the sandbox index Precision, logged into one of our demo clients. So here you're going to see all of the transactions, again, the debits and the credits that make up a transaction, and all the information here that's live on this table here. Now the contact, as mentioned in part 4, is the name. So whether it is a supplier or a customer, it's going to have the name of the vendor or the name of the customer. There is a contact account number, should it have an account number there, and description. If the contact had a description in the accounting solution, it's also going to show up here. So that's part 4. Part 1, right, was the accounts. Okay, so we have the account code, if it has a code, and every account should have a code assigned to it. Then we have the name, and then we have the class, so it's an asset, whether it's a liability, asset, expense. Then type, which is more, it's a more detailed view of the class as well, or of that transaction there. We also have the report code and the report category here. Now, keep in mind, this is universal between QuickBooks and Xero. So it may vary between the two. The language might vary between the two accounting solutions, but the data is all here. So it's just a matter of figuring out which one is consistent with which accounting solution. Then we had the amount, right? So we have total gross of that account and transaction, and we have the net amount. There's the tax amount as well here. We also have all the details on the tax type. So whether which tax code it was, either GST or HST and so on. We also have the dates, right? So dates was the second part of the structure. So there's between all of these columns to kind of filter through or the information to see, right? So if we see here, we have the actual date, and that is the date of the transaction. We have what period it falls on. We have also week, which week of the period it falls in. We also have the month. We also have which quarter it's in, if you want to break things out by quarter. We have the year, of course, and the financial year as well. And we have the date that that transaction was actually created on. Then we have source, which was part 3, right? So source was the number, the identifier number, which is the transaction number, if there was any. There is the category, whether it was an invoice, whether it was a bill, whether it was an expense that's labeled here. We also have the types, which is account receivable or payable. And then the reference, status, and lock date, right? So lock date is if it falls in a locked period. or not. And finally, we have the link that would take you directly to the accounting solution. So just looking at the data here, things to note that you can definitely see reversals and repostings too within the data. So if there are changes that were made to the transaction in the accounting solution, you would be able to see and track all of that here. And please note that this is in its home, all the information here is in the home currency. So multi-currency is not displayed here. So that about wraps up our first video of our Sandbox series. If you have any questions, you can reach out to this email listed here, or you can look into our DEX Precision Help Center. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day.